Good day, everyone. We are the Group 4, and today we are excited to share with you a topic that lies at heart of understanding every child, typical and atypical development among children. As the saying goes, every child is a different kind of flower, and altogether they make this world a beautiful garden. Each child grows at their own pace with their own strengths and challenges, and that's what we'll be exploring today. So, again, good day, everyone. So, before we formally start, let us define first if what is typical and atypical development among children. So, child development is typically assessed across four primary domains: physical, social, emotional, language, and cognitive. These domains help define the key stages in a child's growth and can offer insight into both typical and atypical development. So, when we say typical development, we mean a child is reaching the usual milestone for their age, like learning to walk, talk, or express their feelings at the expected time. But when a child shows delays or differences in these areas, that's what we call atypical development. By knowing what's typical and what's not, we can better support children, giving them help when they need it, and celebrating their progress at every stage.
For the physical development in typical area, children generally achieve motor milestones such as holding their head up, rolling over, sitting without support, crawling, and walking within expected age ranges. In a typical area, the development of a child delays in reaching these milestones, such as not holding the head up by 4 months or not walking by 18 months, may indicate developmental concerns. And also, in the socio-emotional development, in typical area, children develop attachment to caregivers, express a range of emotions, and begin to engage in social interactions like parallel play and forming friendships. While in the atypical area, this includes excessive withdrawal, lack of interest in social interactions, or inappropriate emotional responses.
For the language development are typical milestones. For the infancy, babies start babbling and saying simple words like mama. For the early childhood, children begin forming short sentences and learn many new words. For the middle childhood, kids use longer sentences, proper grammar, and can tell stories. And for the adolescents, teens use mature language and express more complex thoughts. For the language development or atypical milestones, little or no babbling and not talking by age 2. For the early childhood, trouble making sentences and knowing enough words. For the middle childhood, struggles with reading, writing, and understanding language. And for the adolescents, ongoing problems with speaking and using correct grammar. For the cognitive development are typical milestones. For the infancy, understand that objects exist even if they can't see them. For the early childhood, start, pretend, play, and understand simple cause and effect. For the middle childhood, they think more logically and improve in school subjects. For the adolescents, can solve problems and think about complex ideas. For the cognitive development or a typical milestone, so infancy doesn't realize hidden objects still exist. For the early childhood, struggles with pretend play and cause effect understanding. For the middle childhood, they has trouble in school and with memory or focus. And for the adolescents, still has difficulty thinking deeply or solving problems.
Next is Erickson's psychosocial theory. So it focuses on how individuals develop socially and emotionally across the 8 stages of life. He proposed that each stage presents a specific conflict or crisis that must be resolved for healthy psychological growth. For example, in infancy, the key challenge is trust versus mistrust, where consistent care helps develop a sense of trust. In adolescence, the crisis is identity versus role confusion, where individuals begin to form a clear sense of self. By successfully resolving each stage's conflict, it leads to stronger personal development and well being. Next is Piaget's cognitive developmental theory. So, first is the sensory motor infancy. In this stage, infants learn about the world through their senses and action. They begin to understand that objects continue to exist even when they are not seen. Next stage is pre-operational stage or the early childhood. Children start to use language and symbols to represent objects. However, their thinking is still self-centered, meaning they have difficulty seeing things from other people's perspectives. And the third stage is concrete operational stage or the middle childhood. During this stage, children develop the ability to think logically about concrete events. They understand concepts such as conservation, and the last stage is formal operational stage or the adolescence. Adolescents develop the ability to think about abstract concepts and engage in systematic problem solving. Next is Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. It emphasizes that learning is in social interaction and cultural context. He believed that children learn best through guided participation with knowledgeable others such as the parents, the teachers, or the peers. There are two key concepts in his theory. These are the scaffolding and the zone of proximal development. Scaffolding refers to the support given to the children to help them perform tasks that they cannot do on their own, while the zone of proximal development is the range between what a child can do independently and what they can accomplish with guidance. So, this theory shows that social support is crucial for cognitive development.
Now, let's talk about Albert Bandura's social learning theory, in which children learn by watching and copying others. If they see someone being rewarded for an action, they are more likely to do the same. This is called vicarious reinforcement. It also teaches that when people see others like them succeed, they believe they can succeed too, which build confidence and motivation. So children grow and learn at different speed. Typical development follows common milestone, while atypical development means some children learn faster, slower, or differently than expected. So we have here a chart in which it breaks down children's growth into different stages and parts. It tells us about the changes that happen as children grow up. So each stage helps us understand different parts of how children learn and grow. These ideas are useful for parents, teachers, and anyone interested in supporting children's development.
Erickson's theory identifies key psychosocial challenges at each life stage. For example, infants need consistent care to develop trust, like trust versus mistrust, while adolescents must explore their identity to avoid rule confusion, like identity versus rule confusion. So, by understanding these stages helps provide the right support for healthy development. Piaget theory outlines how thinking skills grow at each stage. Infants learn object permanence or knowing things exist even when unseen, while adolescents develop abstract thinking, allowing them to reason about complex ideas. Vygotsky theory stresses that learning happens through social interactions. Caregivers and teachers provide guidance or scaffolding to help children master tasks they could not do alone, supporting cognitive growth. Bandura theory shows that children learn by observing and imitating others. Through watching behaviors of models like parents or teachers, they develop social skills, emotional understanding, and thinking abilities.
Next is the case studies. Case study number one, typical development. Sarah, a 5-year-old who demonstrates typical language development. She constructs sentences, utilizes a broad vocabulary, and participates in cooperative play. Piaget's professional stage is referenced, which explains her development of symbolic play or pretend play. Erickson's initiative versus guilt stage is also mentioned, which explains how her growing independence and confidence. These stages align with typical development at her age. Next is the case study 2, which is atypical development. This slide details James, a 3-year-old exhibiting significant delays in motor development and speech. He doesn't yet speak in complete sentences. So this delay suggests a typical development in both physical and language domains. Piaget's sensory-motor stage is relevant because object permanence should be established by this age. Vygotsky theory of scaffolding is suggested as a potential intervention strategy to help him reach development milestone. So James shows a typical development. His delays in motor skills and speech suggest a need for intervention. His lack of object permanence, according to Piaget, and need for scaffolding, according to Vygotsky, indicate developmental delays.
To wrap it all up, understanding typical and atypical child development really makes a huge difference. When we know what to expect and what signs to watch out for, we can create a better environment that helps every child grow and strive. It also means we can catch any challenges early and give the right support when it matters most. So, as future educators, parents, or even just caring individuals, being aware of this milestone is one of the best ways we can help children succeed, not just in school, but in life. Thank you so much for listening.